What's good? What's good? What's good, guys? We're back in the final down. It's just a simple down, just talking about our questions in our minds for this season. We got Tim, we got Dula, we got Josh. Sorry, but James had to drop out. But the show must go on. Take it away, fellas.
Yeah, James Cooper right now is talking some salary cap talk for the New York Giants with Jerry Reese. So they're trying to work out some cap problems right now. So
Do
Cooper
me
will
proud,
miss you.
Cooper.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, Coop. Um, Off-season questions. Before we get to our own draft guru and Bella, aka the Kuiper of all the drafts, he got all the effing info you need. Listen to the man, okay? Um, we all got questions about the NFL free agency coming up, and of course the combine next week. But Dilla, let us know about the NFL draft.
It's gonna be a good draft for a few positions. There are a few positions that aren't gonna be so good. So, for example, if you're looking for a defensive lineman, it's a very good draft for you. If you're looking for a corner slash safety type, it's gonna be a pretty good draft for you too in the beginning. If you're looking for a tight end, this is not gonna be a great draft for you. If you're looking for a feature back, probably not early, but in the middle rounds, there's some value. I just want to drop a few names that we haven't really talked about or you don't hear a lot about. Um, Quarterback wise, we know about Goff, Wentz, and Lynch. Those are kind of the big three. Connor Cook's in there. I would say don't sleep on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott showed something at the Senior Bowl, good size, nice live arm. He's a guy who probably needs to sit a year in a system, but could do
Would you compare him to a Russell Wilson?
um from a throwing standpoint, yes, he's a little. I think Dak Prescott is what 6 foot 6'1" ish. Um, we'll see what he measures at the combine, but same athleticism, same kind of throw first but run second type mentality. So if you're in kind of in a run first type of offense or an offense where you want to emphasize the run, he'd be a good guy to have. One name you haven't heard a lot about, Cardell Jones. We'll see how he works out. Um, Big kid, 6'6", 260, very live arm. Had some problems at Ohio State. I don't think he was necessarily a fit for Urban Meyer's offense, but if you're looking for just a raw talent to mold, um, I think he might be a guy that you can get in the third or fourth round and kind of be a developmental quarterback. Uh, Looking at a name that's a high riser, Noah Spence, the outside linebacker out of Eastern Kentucky. Um, there's some scheme versatility. He can be a 4-3 D end or a 3-4 outside linebacker. Um, there's some mock drafts out there that have him as high as number 7 to San Francisco. Um, the big thing you got to watch out for Noah Spence is that he was banned from the Big Ten for drug use. We're not talking we're talking ecstasy. So he got flat out banned from the league. That's why he transferred to Eastern Kentucky and finished out his college career. So there are gonna be some character issues there.
Yeah, I saw he
Um,
started at Ohio State,
Uh,
though, correct?
yeah, he did start at Ohio State. Let me say something about Ohio State. Everyone talks about Alabama. Ohio State has 15 players invited to the combine. If
uh,
you also count Noah Spence and Jeremy Cash, the safety out of Duke who started at Ohio State, that's a lot of talent Ohio State's been hoarding over the last couple of
Yeah.
years. Um,
uh,
Everyone, I think another big question that's coming up is, at the top of the draft, Tennessee, are they going to go Joey Bosa or do you go one of the tackles in Tunzel or Stanley? I think it's up to you. I think people make comparisons, Joey Bosa to J.J. Watt. I don't
You
buy it.
probably have to protect your investment in Mariota, I would say, probably.
Absolutely. That's why I think Tennessee ultimately will go with Tunzel, the left tackle. They drafted Taylor Lewan, number 10, a couple of years ago. They'll probably flip him to right tackle. You got Chance Warmack, who was another high first round pick at guard.
uh,
They're building a decent. I think they're going to go the Dallas Cowboys route and build their offensive line and set up Mariota and even try to get Bishop Sankey going in the run game. Um, again, this from we'll see what happens at the combine. You got a lot of tweeners too. You got guys like Sua Cravens who you don't know if he's going to be a strong safety or an outside linebacker. You got someone like what's that kid, DeForest Buckner. It's up in the air whether he is a 3-4 end or a 4-3 end or a 4-3 DT. It just depends on what the scheme is. A lot of these guys have scheme versatility.
Is in your opinion, Della, is there somebody in the draft that stands out that could be an impact like what's his name, the running back from the Rams? Oh God,
Early.
Gurley?
Todd Gurley. Yes, somebody who can make an impact, whether it's a quarterback, receiver, because he was great last year.
I got two names for you. I got a running back for you. I think Jordan Howard out of Indiana. Currently, he's my fifth best back on the board. Everyone talks about Ezekiel Elliott. He'll probably be a first rounder. Derrick Henry may jump into the back end of the first round. I really like Jordan Howard out of Indiana. He ran very hard in the Big Ten. If you go back and look at his game against Michigan, he destroyed that defensive line. That's where you saw the unraveling of Michigan's run defense. He really had his way with them. I'm surprised that they didn't give him the ball at the end of the game. He piled up 200 and some odd yards against Michigan. Another player, linebacker, going back to Ohio State. Everyone talks about Darren Lee as being kind of this. He'll probably be a first round pick. Josh Perry, big kid out of Ohio State, 6'2", 242, probably a strong side linebacker in a 4-3. I think he'll be another guy who, for an aggressive downhill team like the New York Giants, you could plug in. You did have John Beeson retire. I think he'll go second, third round, but I think he can be an impact player early too.
I want to ask you this. I'll ask you guys. I know we all feel that the NFL draft coming up has a lot of great talent. It costs me a lot of great depth. Can this NFL draft affect the free agency coming up? Because if the guys, we all know in March of free agency, teams tend to overpay the players, right? You tend to overpay these guys. Now with the draft coming up and so much talent there, and we all know how teams don't want to pay that much money. Can this affect free agency in a real bad way when guys big name guys won't be signed until probably like the second week of free agency, not right away?
Yes and no. It depends on the position. So, for example, if you're in the market for a running back, it's not going to affect you too much. If you're one of those teams where you have your heart set on Ezekiel Elliott or Henry or Alex Collins or one of these guys, no, it's not really going to matter. Because you're doing the scouting and you're just hoping that the workouts pan out. If I'm looking for a quarterback, however, and I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, the LA Rams, a team that needs a quarterback, it may make a difference. You may sit to yourself and say, okay, if I'm Philadelphia and I want to compete now, is Kirk Cousins going to give me a better chance? Am I better off overpaying Sam Bradford? Apparently, Doug Peterson likes Nick Foles. For the God of me, I don't know why. But is Nick Foles a better fit right now than me going out and spending a high pick on Goff or Wentz or Lynch, which I think all these guys are good, but I don't think any of them, as far as a quarterback, there are no Jameis Winstons, no Andrew Lucks. I don't expect any of these guys to blow your doors off the hinges day one. I'm sorry. You have a lot of serviceable guys who can grow into something, but not today. So this depends on the position. Same thing with a corner. The market for a corner is strong, so unless you're in love with a Hargraves or a Ramsey, you're going to spend your money anyway.
Hey, Dula, as for Giants, they're at 10. I've seen quite a few mocks have put them. I think they will go defensive end mostly, unless someone like Miles Jack were to fall to 10, which I think they'll hop on right away. How would you rank the defensive ends? I believe Bosa will be gone at that point, but I've seen three players potentially going to the Giants in the DE slot. I want to know how you would rank them, being Shaq Lawson, DeForest Buckner, and that Noah Spence kid.
All right. If I'm looking past that, I think your safest pick is going to be DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
Again, he's a guy that has some scheme versatility. You can move him inside on passing downs as a defensive tackle. He'll play outside for you. He'll do good for you. I think he's the safest out of the three. Who are the other two?
Shaq Lawson and what's his face? I just said Noah
Noah
Spence.
Spence. I'd go Noah Spence before Shaq Lawson. I think Kevin Dodd is the better defensive end out of the two. I think Shaq Lawson will go before Kevin Dodd because Kevin Dodd is more of a hand in the dirt 4-3 end, whereas in Lawson has some flexibility. You could play him at linebacker in a 3-4 defense. And usually versatility takes you a little further. But I like Noah Spence. I think Noah Spence has a lot more to prove. You're talking about a guy who has some major questions to answer. Because he really blew a golden chance at Ohio State.
Well, Dilla, I was in love with your mock draft you put up on 2-minute warning. When I saw your mock draft, I was comparing to other mock drafts, and I was like, nah, this is the best one. You put a scenario out there where the Cowboys, I believe, was getting Ramsey at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
It was either Ramsey or Miles Jack at number 4. And then in the second round, because remember, we got the compensatory picks, was Cowboys had an extra 4th-round pick. They used the second and the 4th, traded up, back into the first round towards the end, and drafted Patrick Lynch, quarterback out of Memphis. I was excited. If you gave me a draft like that where the Cowboys can be aggressive and move back in the second round and get of the future, the quarterback for the future, and you just said that Patrick Lynch, Goff, and Wentz are, one of them falls that can happen, I'm excited about what the Cowboys can do down the road.
Well, you know what's funny about that is when I made that trade, that's not who I was intending at first. I relooked at my board.
Okay.
I still think there's an outside shot that the Cowboys trade up for one of these receivers. I had Braxton Miller going in that spot.
Man. From Ohio State.
From Ohio State. Again, you're talking about a guy who, former quarterback, former 2-time Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, 6'2", 220, about 4.4, 4.5-ish type speed. Listen, I'm looking at that wide receiver core. There's not a ton outside of Dez Bryant. Cole Beasley's okay. Terrence Williams, not too shabby, but I think here's the thing with Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant's kind of a natural possession type receiver. You would think that they would pair him with more of a speedster type guy on the other side to kind of roll the coverage and get him open a little more. Get Cole Beasley working in the slot. I think he'd be good against linebackers. Do I think they'll spend a first-round pick? It's Jerry Jones's MO to kind of make a splash at times. So I think trading up for Braxton Miller, a guy who before all of this was maybe a 4th-round pick at receiver. After the Senior Bowl, I think he'll be a first-round pick if he runs well.
Right.
There's no telling.
We'll find out next week with that. Oh, man, great stuff.
This draft is really heavily loaded with a lot of defensive talent, and that's really what we're focused on for the most part, besides a few QBs we throw in here and there. I'm interested, Dula, in your input on the receivers coming out of this class, because I know the Giants are going to be looking for one. I think there's even reports that Giants may go for like Mohamed Sanu in free agency, but I also think they may try to sneak one in later rounds. But there's a lot of talk about, Laquan Treadwell, he gets enough talk, and Corey Coleman and Josh Doxson and them. But what are some receivers that you see potentially second, third round that could actually do some damage and might be play higher than where they were drafted, like an Antonio Brown was,
Right. I think Michael Thomas, the receiver opposite Braxton Miller, I think he's going to go below Braxton Miller in the second, but he could be a playmaker, impact player. The thing with Michael Thomas is that he's played receiver for 4 years, or 3 years, sorry. So, you don't have that learning curve. Braxton Miller is going to go off sheer athleticism. He's still learning how to be a receiver, learning how to run routes and catch the ball. I think he's a guy, to watch out for. I think that in this receiver group, it's top loaded. I think another guy, Will Fuller out of Notre Dame, is another name you want to look out for. Mid-second to late second, maybe early third. This draft is so unpredictable when it comes to these receivers, though. With the receiver, the big thing that you look at is, all right, what does he run, and what does his route running look like? Is he smooth out of his breaks? Is he choppy? What was his route tree in college,
Right.
right? If you're only running 2 and 3 routes in college, when you get that NFL playbook and you're running, you know, uh, 7, 8, 9 routes, depending on if you're an X or a Z receiver, it makes a difference. It makes a difference as to, what type of offense you're coming out of. Will Fuller, I like a lot. I really do. I think he'll be a nice pickup for a team in the second, maybe early third rounds. I am still looking at kind of the bottom, like the kind of the outside of the sexier names, but Will Fuller is the one that's kind of been sticking with me.
Let me ask you about the receivers. There's rumors saying now that Josh Gordon is getting released from the Cleveland Browns, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you to put Josh Gordon compare him in this draft, or if a team out there is saying, okay, should we sign Josh Gordon or draft or not? Let's draft this receiver because this receiver could be just as effective as Josh Gordon. What receiver do you think would that be?
If I'm making a receiver comparison,
Right.
I think Tyler Boyd, out of
Compare.
Tyler Boyd kind of compares to him very favorably. Kind of the same mold, bigger guys can run. Josh Gordon is what, 6'3" ish?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
6'3", again, at 6'3" is a very fast guy, not a possession receiver. But on your faster side, I think Boyd's a good comparison. See, that's the thing about these player comparisons. Going back to Joey Bosa is like, oh, he's a J.J. Watt. No, he's not. J.J. Watt is about 20 pounds heavier and is just built different. Joey Bosa to me reminds me a little more of Justin Smith. I think Joey Bosa will have a very solid career in the NFL. I don't think he'll be a superstar. And you know what? Joey Bosa has some character issues to answer to because of how he got himself ejected out of that bowl game. Who did Ohio State play? I think it was Notre Dame. How he got ejected early in that game. He had lost his cool or something like that, got ejected from the game for a personal foul. Comparisons are so hard because when J.J. Watt came out of Wisconsin, he wasn't necessarily a dominant defensive tackle.
Uh-huh.
He got to Houston and started wrecking shop because that's what happens sometimes. Arian Foster was in that same trajectory. I think he was just another guy at Tennessee who couldn't get his act right. Gets in the league and tears it up before he gets hurt. But if I had to make a comparison, I think Boyd kind of fits that mold.
I know in one of the NFL draft questions they had somebody asked if we had if Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame didn't get hurt versus Ohio State, will he be the first one pick out of linebackers versus Miles Jack?
I think he would have been. Reason is, let's go back to scheme versatility. Jalen Smith can play all three positions in a 4-3. You can also put him at inside linebacker in the 3-4. You could probably also play him outside in the 3-4 if you wanted to. That was the beauty of Jalen Smith. I think Notre Dame, they play a 3-4. I think he played on the inside in a 3-4. But he has the quick twitch ability on the edge to play outside linebacker in that 3-4 defense or in a 4-3. I think Miles Jack is a better tackler than Jalen Smith is. But if you're looking for a guy in coverage, I think Smith has a little bit more, athleticism. That knee injury really hurt him, though. I think he won't be ready to play until the end of next season, about. So with a guy like Jalen Smith, you're really drafting him to stash him. And,
How about
redshirt him basically and hope that, his knee heals up.
earlier you said that I know you said Goff, we have Wentz, and we have Patrick Lynch, right? Then you said Connor Cook, I believe. I'm not too sure after that.
I think Dak Prescott is number 4, then Connor Cook.
Now Dak Prescott, I mean, Josh, you think he's do you think he's compared to, they say Russell Wilson, a bigger version of Russell Wilson?
I said to Jules earlier. Yeah, he
Right.
said the passing wise.
Yeah, I think they have. So that's what's so deceptive about speed. There are guys that run a 4.5 that it doesn't look very fast, right? and there are guys who look, god awful fast and they're not running that fast. I think Dak Prescott doesn't have great straight line speed, but if you put him in a situation where he has to break out of the pocket and run a little bit, he has some of that athleticism Russell Wilson does to kind of make something happen.
In,
Um, yeah,
in the last opinion, what's the best, what's the deepest position in this year's draft?
defensive line by far. Um, you got Bosa at the top, but then you got DeForest Buckner. You got Andrew Billings as a nose tackle. If you're a 3-4 team looking for a nose tackle, Andrew Billings is a big boy in the middle. You got Ashawn Robinson and Jaron Reed out of Alabama. Two more big boys along the defensive line. Um, and it goes from there. You have Emmanuel, I think it's Ogabawa. You have Shaq Lawson, Kevin Dodd, Noah Spence. All of these guys are probably first round picks.